Hello friends, and welcome to Listen Book. Today, we are going to talk about the book, How to Be Disciplined, by Sheldon Howe. It was a cold winter evening. Eric, who lived alone in a small flat in Delhi, was frustrated with his life. His job was just okay, but deep down, he felt he wasn't achieving anything significant. He often wondered what he truly wanted. One night, as he lay in bed scrolling through his phone, his eyes fell on a book review. The book's name was How to Be Disciplined, and the author was Sheldon Howe. What a useless topic, he said to himself. But somewhere inside, he felt that this might be the book he needed. He immediately ordered the book online. 3 days later, the book was in his hands. Eric thought, let's see why this book is so popular. He took the book and went to his balcony. A cool breeze was blowing, and a cup of tea sat on his table. He opened the book and started reading the first chapter, titled Set Clear Goals. As soon as he started reading, Eric felt as if someone was holding a mirror up to him. It was written, establishing clear and achievable goals is the foundation of discipline. Goals provide direction and motivation, making it easier to stay focused and measure progress. Eric didn't understand why such a simple idea had eluded him until now. He often dreamed big, I'll start my own company one day, or I'll become an expert in digital marketing, but he had never planned his goals in detail. He glanced at the next paragraph, if you don't know where you are going, you'll never get there. This line shook him. That's so true, he thought. I always think I need to do something, but I never know what that something is. He closed the book, got up from the balcony, and went inside. He chose the quietest corner of his room, sat down with his notebook, and decided that for the first time in his life, he would set clear goals. He wrote down: 1. Focus on my fitness. Lose 10 kilograms in the next 6 months. 2. Complete 3 advanced digital marketing courses. 3. Read 5 new books every month. After writing, he closed the notebook and felt a strange sense of relief. Achieving this wouldn't be easy, but it was the first time he had written his goals down so clearly. The next day, when he woke up, he tried to start working on his first goal. He had set his alarm for 6 a.m., but when it rang, he immediately hit the snooze button. Just 5 more minutes, he told himself. Those 5 minutes turned into an hour before he knew it. When he finally opened his eyes and looked at the wall clock, it was 7:30. Man, I failed again today, he said to himself angrily. Then he remembered his book. He took out the book and reread the first page. One line stood out: failure is part of the process. Don't be discouraged by small setbacks. Focus on getting back on track. He smiled and said to himself, well, the book warned me about this. It's okay, I'll get it right tomorrow. That evening, he did one more thing. He put a large chart on his room's wall and wrote his goals on it. Next to them, he made small check boxes. Every time he completed a task, he would tick a box. Slowly, over the next few days, he began to develop the habit of waking up early. He went jogging in the park for the first time. Feeling the cool air and seeing other people running made him realize he needed to get serious about his life. When he returned, he read the next part of the book. It said, break your goals into smaller, manageable steps. A big goal can feel overwhelming. He thought about it and decided to break his fitness goal into smaller tasks, 15 minutes of jogging the first week, 20 minutes the next, and gradually increasing to 30 minutes. The first chapter of the book had become a guide for his life. He would read it and try to apply its lessons. But life isn't that easy. One day, his mother called. Why haven't you called in the last 2 weeks? We were so worried. Eric suddenly realized he had been so absorbed in his goals that he had stopped talking to his family. He called her back immediately and listened carefully. He thought that setting clear goals wasn't just about career and fitness, but also about balancing relationships. He took out his notebook and added another line: 4. Call my parents every week and spend time with them. This is how Eric's life began to change gradually. Every night before sleeping, he would review his day. If he missed a task, he would add it to the next day's list. The first chapter had taught him that goals aren't just to be written, they are to be lived. He learned that goals had given his life a sense of direction. But the story doesn't end here. Eric understood that this was just the beginning. The first chapter of Sheldon Howe's book was merely a glimpse, he had more chapters to read and implement. If you like our free summary, you can subscribe to our channel, purchase a membership, or support us via UPI. Now, let's get back to the summary. He smiled to himself and said, "Now, let's see how this book changes my life." Eric had made significant progress on his initial goals in the next few days. He felt his life was slowly getting on track. Many boxes on his wall chart were ticked, and each tick gave him new energy. He thought it was time to read the next chapter. After dinner, he sat in a small corner of his flat with the book in front of him. He removed the cloth bookmark and turned the page. The second lesson was, develop a routine. As he read, he felt this was his biggest weakness. His life was so disorganized that nothing ever went according to plan. He would stay up late some nights, wake up late other mornings, and his weekends would just slip away. The book stated, creating a consistent daily routine helps in building habits that reinforce discipline. A structured schedule minimizes distractions and promotes productivity by allocating specific times for tasks. Eric read every word carefully. He realized that if he truly wanted to bring discipline into his life, he had to adopt a strict routine. He told himself, having a routine doesn't mean life becomes boring. It means I will learn to use my time properly. He immediately took his notebook and wrote, "My perfect routine: 1. Wake up at 6 a.m. 2. Exercise from 6:15 to 7 a.m. 3. Breakfast by 7:30 a.m. 4. Work from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. 5. 1 hour lunch break. 6. Work again from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. 7. 1 hour in the evening for myself, reading, learning skills, or reflection. 8. Sleep by 10 p.m. Planning the routine was easy, but following it would be the hardest part, and Eric knew it. Let's try from tomorrow, he thought. The next morning, when his alarm rang at 6 a.m., he felt the same urge as the first day. He hit the snooze button for a moment, but then he remembered he couldn't go back to his old habits. He quickly turned off the alarm and got out of bed. He set a timer on his phone and started exercising according to his routine. Initially, his body resisted, and every minute felt like a struggle, but he remembered the part of the book that said, habits are hard to build initially, but consistency makes them easier over time. The first few days were a real struggle. Sometimes, while having breakfast, he would wonder if creating a routine was the right decision. But as the days passed, he started to enjoy it. The best impact of the routine was on his productivity. When he sat down to work, his focus was complete. He knew he had allocated a specific time slot for everything, so he would have enough time to do it properly. One day at the office, his manager told him, "Eric, the work you've done last week is incredible. Are you okay?" Eric smiled and said, "Sir, I'm just getting some discipline." When he returned home that evening, he realized that a routine wasn't just a way to manage time, it was a tool to improve life. He started reading new books in his free time and reviewed his day every night before bed. However, life isn't always straightforward. One Sunday, his friend Rahul called, "Hey, are you coming for a movie today?" Eric was confused. Going to the movie meant missing his evening study time. But then he thought, a routine doesn't mean I stop enjoying life. Sometimes, taking a break is necessary too. He learned a new lesson: routine isn't about strict rules, it's about balance. In the following days, he made his routine more flexible, adding free time slots when he could do anything, talk to family, hang out with friends, or just relax. The book had an interesting line: a routine can sometimes feel like a burden. Allow some flexibility to accommodate unexpected events. He felt the routine had made him a better person. His life now had structure. Where he used to procrastinate, he now completed tasks on time. But the story doesn't end here. Eric realized that creating a routine was the start of his journey, but he needed to take his habits deeper. There were more lessons in the book. He promised himself to read, understand, and implement every lesson. With this hope, he gently closed the book to move to the next chapter. A few weeks had passed, and Eric was feeling much more comfortable with his routine. Waking up early, working out, and having a productive day had become habits. But life doesn't always stay on a simple path. One day, after work, he came home tired and thought of relaxing. He turned on the TV and, while watching a series, unknowingly wasted 3 hours. When he looked at the chart on his wall at night, he felt ashamed. Man, everything was going so well, and today I'm back to my old habits, he told himself. That same night, he took out the book and turned to the next chapter. The third lesson was titled, Embrace Self-Control. The very first line shook him to the core. Self-control is essential to resist temptations. Resisting short-term pleasures in favor of long-term goals is the foundation of disciplined living. Eric said to himself, that's my biggest problem. I always chase short-term pleasures, whether it's scrolling through social media for hours or doing anything that goes against my bigger goals. The book had another interesting point: distractions are everywhere, and they often disguise themselves as harmless breaks. But every small temptation adds up to derail your progress. The very next day, Eric was determined to build self-control. He first identified his biggest distraction, his mobile phone. He deleted all unnecessary apps and set screen time limits. He decided to check social media only once a day for just 15 minutes. The first day was very difficult. Many times, he felt like picking up the phone, but a line from the book became his guide: the more you resist a temptation, the stronger your self-control muscle becomes. He realized that self-control didn't mean distancing himself from everything, it meant understanding his priorities and learning to say no to things that worked against his goals. A few days later, another challenge arose. On Saturday evening, his friends called him for a party. He knew that if he went, the whole night would be spent partying, and there would be no chance of working out the next morning. He asked himself, should I go, or should I focus on my long-term goals? Another line from the book came to mind: every time you resist a desire, you take a step closer to becoming the person you want to be. Ultimately, Eric decided not to go to the party. He apologized to his friends and explained that he was working on his life. Although it wasn't easy, and he feared his friends would now find him boring, the next morning, when he woke up on time and followed his routine, he felt proud of that victory. One day, while reading the book in the evening, he saw written, "Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most." He realized that self-control was necessary not just in big things but also in small habits. For example, he had developed a habit of eating sweets after lunch at the office. He decided to quit. The first time he saw his favorite gulab jamun and told himself, "No, this is against my fitness goal," he felt how difficult yet crucial self-control was. The book further stated, "The key to mastering self-control is to remind yourself of your bigger goals whenever a temptation arises." Eric ingrained this advice. He started keeping things around him that reminded him of his big goals: his notebook, the chart on the wall, and his own journey. Slowly, his ability to control his desires grew stronger. Now, whenever a distraction appeared, he would ask himself one question: will this bring me closer to my bigger goals or take me further away? A few weeks later, a new challenge came at the office. The company gave him a new project that required working late. Previously, he would have made excuses to avoid such projects, but now, with self-control, he learned to manage his time. He adjusted his routine so that his other habits remained intact alongside the project. Eric realized that self-control was necessary not just to ignore distractions but also to handle himself better in difficult situations. This lesson opened another door in his life. He felt that those who learn to control their small desires are the ones who achieve big things. And so, Eric decided to move further on his journey. He told himself, this is just the beginning. I can't wait to see what else this book teaches me. The next night, he gently closed the book to proceed to the next chapter. Eric's life was gradually changing. He had incorporated the lessons on routine and self-control into his life. Every day, he felt a new energy and motivation. But something still bothered him. Often, while working, his mind would wander. He would be engaged in one task, and suddenly a memory from the past would pop up, or anxiety about the future would start swirling in his mind. Sometimes he would worry about his plans failing, and other times he would waste time thinking about past mistakes. One evening, sitting on his balcony, he said to himself, "I've worked a lot on discipline and self-control, so why does my mind keep wandering?" He felt it might be the right time to learn the next lesson. He took out the book and reached the next chapter. The fourth lesson was titled, Practice Mindfulness. The book said, mindfulness meditation helps maintain focus and reduce anxiety. By being present in the moment, individuals can better manage their thoughts and emotions, leading to improved decision-making and productivity. Eric started reading this lesson and felt it might be the answer to his biggest problem. I often live either in the past or get lost worrying about the future. But perhaps I'm failing to live in the present moment, he thought. Another line caught his attention, the mind is like a monkey, always jumping from one thought to another. Mindfulness helps you tame this monkey and bring it to the present moment. Eric decided to implement this lesson immediately. The next morning, after his workout, he started a new practice. He looked online to learn how to do mindfulness meditation. He found a quiet spot on his balcony, closed his eyes, and began taking deep breaths. For the first few minutes, his mind raced in every direction, worries about work, memories of old arguments. But he told himself, whatever thoughts come, let them come, but I will focus on my breath. Slowly, he felt his thoughts slowing down. As he took deeper breaths, his mind became calmer. For the first time, he felt he could control his mind. The book stated, mindfulness is not about stopping thoughts. It's about observing them without judgment and gently bringing your attention back to the present. He made this practice a part of his daily routine, meditating for 10 minutes every morning and before bed. The impact began to show in his entire life. When he worked at the office, his focus was better than before. If his attention wandered, he would take a few deep breaths and refocus himself on the task. One day, a big project came in at the office. The team lead explained it would be very challenging with a tight deadline. Eric's teammates were stressed, but he remained calm. He used his mindfulness practice. While others were panicking, Eric quietly made a plan. He broke his part of the work into small segments and set a task for each day. His calm and systematic approach impressed the team lead. He recalled another line from the book, mindfulness not only helps you stay calm under pressure but also clarifies your thinking and helps you make better decisions. Mindfulness also affected his personal life. Before, when he was with friends, his attention was often elsewhere. But now, he was fully present in every conversation. He realized that relationships become stronger when you give your loved ones your 100% attention. One day, he called his mother. While she was talking, he promised himself to listen carefully to every word. Where he used to end calls with a quick, "okay," he now responded to her words and tried to understand her feelings. The biggest impact of mindfulness was on his anxiety and stress. Previously, he would get upset over small things, but now, whenever he felt stressed, he would take a deep breath and remind himself, I am in this moment. What is here right now is the only reality, everything else is just a game of my mind. He wrote another line from the book on his workspace wall, the present moment is the only place where life truly exists. Learn to live in it. Gradually, mindfulness became a part of his life. He felt this one practice had added depth to his thinking, work, and relationships. He now lived each day with open eyes and an open heart. Eric understood that mindfulness wasn't limited to meditation, it could be present in every moment, while eating, working, or talking to someone. One evening, sitting on the balcony, he looked at the sky. The sun was setting, and the clouds had turned a light orange. He fully experienced that moment. Before, he would have ignored these small things, but now he realized that these moments make life beautiful. This lesson had transformed his thinking. He told himself, if I learn to live every moment mindfully, perhaps every challenge in life will become easier. With this promise, he closed the book for the next chapter. Eric's life was slowly getting on track. With mindfulness, self-control, and routine, he felt more productive and peaceful than ever. But life isn't always the same. Sometimes, even when you do everything right, unexpected challenges arise. A major project came his way at the office. It was his first big responsibility. He had planned everything meticulously, paid attention to every small detail, discussed it with his team members, and was confident about finishing on time. But as the deadline approached, things started falling apart. Some team members began missing their deadlines, and Eric's own work started lagging. Despite his hard work, he felt immense pressure. On the deadline day, the project remained incomplete. His manager called him into his cabin and expressed his displeasure. Eric was furious with himself. He thought, I worked so hard, yet I failed. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. That evening, he sat on the balcony, feeling like all his effort had been wasted. He picked up the book and turned to the next chapter. The fifth lesson was titled, Learn from Failures. The very first line made Eric ponder, failure is not the end, it's a stepping stone to success. Discipline involves learning from setbacks rather than being discouraged by them. The book went on, every failure carries a lesson. It's up to you to find it and use it to grow stronger. Eric closed the book for a moment and thought, can I really learn from my failure? Is this truly an opportunity to improve myself? Over the next few days, he carefully reviewed his project. He thought about what had gone wrong. He found that he had overlooked some small mistakes. For example, he had forgotten to have regular check-ins with the team and often tried to handle things himself instead of delegating properly. The book stated, failures often happen because of overlooked details. Reflect on your mistakes, not to blame yourself but to improve. Eric acknowledged his mistakes. He promised himself he would prepare better next time. But he also reminded himself that failing at one project didn't question his entire capability. To motivate himself, he repeated another line from the book, failure is a detour, not a dead end. It's a chance to refine your strategy and come back stronger. The next week, another project came up at the office. Eric immediately started applying the lessons learned from his failures. He maintained better communication with the team and resolved small problems early on. Slowly, he realized that instead of fearing failure, he should see it as a challenge. He understood that every failure hides a lesson. Another incident gave him a chance to understand this lesson more deeply. He had been following his habit of waking up early for weeks, but one day, due to staying up late, he failed to wake up on time. He thought, am I slipping back into my old habits? Previously, he would have berated himself, but now he adopted the book's advice. He told himself, it's just one day. I can get back to my routine tomorrow. The book had said, discipline isn't about being perfect every day. It's about bouncing back after setbacks. The next day, he made a full effort to get up when the alarm rang and got back on track with his routine. Eric felt that the best way to deal with failure was to accept it, learn from it, and move forward. He added a new section to his chart, lessons learned. Every time he failed at something, he would write down what he learned from that experience. A few weeks later, Eric's manager called him. He said, Eric, there's been a tremendous improvement in your work. That project you failed at taught you a lot, and that learning is visible in everything you do now. Eric smiled. He felt that failure, instead of breaking him, was making him stronger. The book had another line, resilience is built through failures. The more you face setbacks, the stronger you become. This lesson had completely changed Eric's perspective. Now, whenever he failed at a task, instead of panicking or feeling disappointed, he would ask himself, what can I learn from this? One day, sitting in his flat, he remembered his old friends who used to tease him by calling him a loser when he failed. But now he knew that failing wasn't a weakness. He told himself, failing is necessary. Without failure, I would never have learned. That evening, he opened the book again. He knew the next chapter would have something special for him, but this time, before closing it, he read the page one last time, a line that kept reminding him, failure is just another step on the path to success. Keep stepping forward. And he promised himself he would embrace every failure, learn from it, and keep moving forward. Eric had now incorporated 5 lessons from the book into his life. Each new lesson improved his thinking. He had seen himself change tremendously. The man who used to blame himself for every small failure had now taught himself that falling is necessary, and getting back up is even more so. But his journey wasn't complete yet. The book's final chapter piqued his curiosity. He opened the book again, and the word that now meant the most in his life was consistency. He realized that all his efforts, whether setting goals, creating a routine, adopting mindfulness, or learning from failures, only worked if he remained consistent. The book stated that a one-time effort changes nothing. Real change comes when we take small steps every day and keep doing them consistently. Eric thought that consistency had been the most difficult for him. Many times, he would work hard one day and give up the next. He often made plans but couldn't follow through. He understood that this was probably why many of his dreams remained unfulfilled. The book said, motivation gets you started, but consistency keeps you going, even on days when you don't feel like it. Showing up matters the most. Eric took a deep breath. He understood that consistency is a habit, and building it requires daily effort. He promised himself that he would take at least one small step every day, no matter how small. The next day, he made his routine even stricter. Along with waking up early, he gave a new form to his daily planning and dedication. He decided to work on his fitness for 30 minutes every day, no matter how tired he was. He also created a timetable for his work to ensure he didn't miss any deadlines. Initially, it wasn't easy. Several times, after his alarm rang, he lay tangled in the sheets. Often, while getting ready for his workout, excuses would pop into his head. But each time, he reminded himself, consistency is the most important thing. If I give up today, it will be even harder tomorrow. Slowly, he felt these small steps were leading him in a new direction. One day at the office, his manager gave him a big project. It was the same type of project he had failed at a few months ago. But this time, instead of fear, he had confidence. He told himself, this time, I won't just make a plan, I will follow it consistently too. Eric started the work by breaking it into small parts. He held regular meetings with his team and took feedback on everyone's work. He created a timetable for himself and completed every task on time. Whenever his attention wandered or he felt tired, he would take a deep breath and tell himself, just one more step. Just one more try. Gradually, his work started getting completed on time and without major errors. His team members were also inspired by his consistency. On the deadline day, the project was completed, and his manager couldn't stop praising his hard work and leadership. Eric realized that the impact of consistency wasn't limited to his work, it was evident in every aspect of his life. He continued working on his fitness with the same dedication. Where he used to exercise for only a few days and then quit, he now dedicated 30 minutes to himself every day. His body and mind both felt stronger and more energetic. Eric saw that consistency made a difference not just in big things but also in small habits. He also decided to read a book every night before sleeping, even if it was just one page. One day, when he met his old friends, they said, "You've changed so much, Eric. You used to worry about every little thing before, and now it seems like you can handle anything." Eric smiled and said, "This change happened gradually. I just took a small step every day and maintained consistency." He told his friends about the book's lessons. He said, consistency means you keep a promise to yourself every day. It's not necessary to be perfect every day, you just need to keep trying. That night, when he returned home, he read the last page of the book. It said, discipline is not the goal, it's the journey. Keep going, and you will find that success becomes a habit, not a destination. Eric closed the book. He felt his life had changed. But he also understood that this journey would never end. Every day would bring a new challenge, a new lesson, and a new opportunity to improve himself. He placed the book on his table and looked out the window. Moonlight faintly illuminated his room. He took a deep breath and promised himself he would never abandon this journey because he now knew that true happiness lies not in reaching a destination but in living that journey with complete honesty and hard work. And so, Eric's story didn't end here, it was just a new beginning. So friends, that was our book summary for today. How did you like it? Please let us know by commenting. And thank you for listening until the end of the summary.